So I was right in the middle of recording a Wet Liberal Whenever episode when I was going for a walk this morning when all hell broke loose. I could hear this incredibly loud sort of distress call, which I did recognise as coming from a deer, and I could hear my dog barking, my very small, scruffy little mongrel dog, who isn't really up to hunting down fully grown deer. And then it was absolute pandemonium as I approached. As I got nearer and nearer the sound, I did, as always, in the panic. In the pandemonium that followed, with the deer running around like a mad thing, it was perfectly all right. It ran off. I didn't take any pictures, and I tried to get, I was trying. It wasn't quite what I had planned to do. Well, that was all very dramatic. Over there, I'm not, basically, the essential point is I'm not a hunter. I'm not out here hunting with a very, very small mongrel Jack Russell. But she did trap a young deer there. It got caught on the fence, and that's what all that noise was. It was quite distressing. Of course, the dog was going absolutely ape, but I managed to call her off. And now the deer's gone. So I tried to film. I tried to film it running away because it was really close, and I took a still picture instead of a video. But then nature took over, and there was a deer hunt. Bobby Lou goes on a deer hunt. Deer hunter. Except I was a wet liberal deer hunter going, oh, don't let it get hurt. And I was sort of running to help the bloody deer. There's a lot of deer around at the moment, and they do shoot them. There are two gentlemen who come over from Denmark with high-velocity snipers' rifles and shoot deer. Isn't that lovely? The wonders of nature in the countryside. Many people in cities don't even know half of what's going on. But I don't hunt deer. And if there was a lump of venison knocking about, I'd eat it. I'm not above that. I was intending to record a video about my feelings on British management and and the structures of society that we live under at the moment, and the fact that the government is run by some of the most boring, dull, hypocritical, lying, two-faced scumbags that we've ever known. And that's saying something for the British government, because it's never been renowned for being particularly led by particularly wonderful or interesting people. Not for many years, not really since the war. Been a bunch of dullards. Anyway, but that's what I was going to talk about. One of the reasons that I've been thinking about this, obviously, is because I've been listening to a brilliant audiobook. It's very depressing. It's brilliantly written, but it's not much fun to listen to. It's called Flat Earth News. I think it's Nick Davis wrote it, British journalist. And it's about, really, it records the end of journalism. What used to be journalism was a journalist would go out and find out a story and then check the facts, maybe take days, sometimes even weeks or months. Check the facts, make sure what they were reporting was relatively accurate. Just want to find the light, there we go. It was relatively accurate, and then write up the story, and that would be the job of a journalist, and that's long, long gone. They don't do that anymore. As I discovered this year, it was very, very apparent. I wrote a press release for Carpool with my producer, Don Bowles, and we sort of, we went over it a few times. Really, in a sense, like a journalist would. Rewriting it, making sure it read clearly and simply, the minimum words possible, communicating the maximum amount of information. And that was released to the press like a proper press release, like they do. I don't know, proper PR company put it out. And we then reread that story, and just about every single report about Carpool was word for word what we'd said. No, they didn't change a thing. They didn't even change a comma. And that's what Nick Davis describes it as in Flat Earth News is churnalism. Churnalism. They just churn it over. And I thought that was just, it was obvious with the PR for a TV show. Of course they're not going to bother rewriting that or investigating it. What I didn't know is everyone else does exactly the same thing. So every corporation, every government, they put out press release after press release after press release, hundreds of them. And that's what you read in the paper, exactly, word for word. Nothing changes, because there's so few people working in newspapers, they've fired them all, and they're making huge profits. It's not like they're losing money. They're making enormous amounts of money because there are no journalists. They have to pay them. They're such a pain in the arse. And you know what they're like. They have ideas. Fatal. They're creative people. They come up with ideas and notions, and they look into things. People like John Pilger. When you think of that, he's a journalist, still alive. He caused trouble because he found out what was really going on, and he reported it, and it upset people. Much better to have a very, very poorly paid minion who just resets the type, basically, and fits the story into the page next to the picture. And that's all you have to do. And it's so much easier. Now, when you read a newspaper, if you've read that book or listened to that book, you'll never read a newspaper again and have any faith in anything it says. And that's what's interesting about the internet, is because it's all gone onto the internet. So if you read blogs, you're much more likely, strangely enough, because everybody's very denigrating of blogs. I tell you who's denigrating of blogs: newspaper owners and big media organisations. Those silly blogs waffling on. No. If you want some honest facts and some real stories and some real stuff about what's really going on with things like student riots, then read a blog. Don't read a newspaper, because a newspaper is just PR from people who want you to believe their propaganda. It's as simple as that. One of the other things I've been thinking about is the difficulty of the ease of keeping a written blog and of coming up with sort of ideas that you can argue with in a bit more detail, and the difficulty of doing it on video, where I just rant on like an idiot and make a right fool of myself, which is what I've been doing on YouTube for many years now. And my blog is doing really well, and lots of people read it and get lots of comments from it. And it's a little bit more well thought out, because when I write, which is what I do a lot of the time when I'm not doing silly telly stuff, Daisy, you'll have to find your own way over the fence, love. We'll go up there. It's all right, we'll go up there. Don't worry. I'll go up that way. Don't panic. Yeah, so when I can write stuff down... Oh, you've got through. What an intelligent animal you are. When I can write stuff down, I can take a little bit more time working out what I really think. And when I just blab on like this to a camera, in this case the iPhone 4, it's a little bit more focused. So what I'm trying to do is work out how to use this medium in the very best way possible, because it is fantastic. The fact that we can put these videos up on YouTube is just brilliant. There is a fear. I'm going to swap hands, because that, much as the iPhone is very light, keeping your arm out like that when you're walking is quite painful. There is that's not easy. There is a fear, however, that may change. There's certainly lots of media people. Oh, that's really hard. I can't do it like that. I have to do it like that. There is a fear that lots of the big media corporations are beginning to get a foothold in strangling things like video on the internet, because they can make money out of it, and mugs like us who just shove stuff up on YouTube, we don't make money out of it. I mean, I get a few quid a year from Google AdSense, but by anyone's standards, it's not a living. I mean, you've got to have many. If you have hundreds of millions of views, you probably do get quite a lot. I don't know. Lady Gaga's probably earned a few quid out of having her vids on YouTube. But I'm slightly concerned about that. The corporate claw is closing down on the internet to do things like tiered payment. So if you watch a lot of video, you have to pay more. You pay, basically paying by the megabyte that you download, and that will affect video more than anything else. Which is one of the reasons I've started up a very, very lightweight blog that anyone can read, and it will cost you 1/1000 of a pence, even when the corporations are raking it in yet again. Anyway, I won't start going on about that now, because it's not something I know a great deal about, as you may have guessed. So that's all. So a bit of deer hunting, and if you have been, thank you for watching.